Hello, welcome to part 2 of the Industries DLC tutorial, explanation, whatever you want to call it. This one's going to be about location, location, location. So where to put these things. And I'm going to go ahead and look into one main map that really just deals with the Industries DLC. A lot is going to be your resource map, right? So ideally, I have found. Now, of course, do what you want, put it wherever you want to put it, and build it, of course, however you want to build it. But I found that it's helpful if you'll get less symbols, not enough buyers, not enough resources, all those symbols that we probably have come to hate, if you build these things close to each other, close to one another. And at least they don't necessarily need to be like the DLCs themselves don't necessarily need to be close together, but they need to be close to your warehouse location, and they need to be close, and the warehouses need to be close to your unique factories, your import and export, your regular industry, as well as some of the storage units need to be close to those things too. Because like I said in the last video, they all, basically anything in the supply chain can import or export, but most likely what's going to happen is your storage units will import and export more so than, say, like the extractors and the processors. And then your warehouses are going to be the things that are going to import and export, with the extractors bringing things to the storage and the processors bringing things to the warehouses. Okay, so this is a kind of an example of kind of building things close. So here, there's two full tiles that you see in front of you here. This tile, this was one tile, and like this was one tile. And you can see I was fortunate enough, so when I'm looking at my city and looking at what tiles I'm going to buy, I look for where do I have at least 3 of the elements, we'll call them resources, so that way I can set up my DLC. And the 3 ones you want to look for obviously are going to be farming, oil, and ore. You can always make forestry, so if there's not forestry, don't worry about it. You just need to have an area where you can plant some trees, then you can build your forestry DLC there. And then you also want to have an area where maybe you can, it's just there's, you plan on putting, say, an industrial complex of some kind. And that way, like I said, they all kind of play nice together. You want to have good access, so good fast roads. So I have in here like just a regular 2-lane highway. Good access to your warehouses, a nice centralized area is pretty nice. Good access to the rail, so when so then they can get on the rail and they can bring it all the way to, export in and out of the city, or they can bring it into the industrial area for the industrial folks. Because remember, your generic industry uses all of the pieces of your industry DLC. They use the raw material, the raw resource, as well as processed resources. So you want your DLC be able to kind of like talk to your industry relatively quickly, relatively easily. So it's nice to do it through rail, because once again, these trucks, they go here, they drop it off, and they leave, right? As opposed to having to drive around, and they drop it off at the front door, and then they have to drive all the way back. Here they just go here and they come back, and then the train does whatever it needs to do. Right, or you can put it on an airplane, you can put it on a boat, whatever you want to do. Just get it off. You want to minimize the time that the truck has it. So the truck needs to move and be moving between all these things. So like I said, having an area where you have 3 of the resources is nice. And that way you can build a centralized location. If you don't want to do that, or if maybe the map that you're on isn't designed that way, you can't find that. And I've had plenty of maps that were like that. What you can do is build like I want to call it maybe a relay race type of design. So here you can see like everything's kind of real close. You got the farms here and the trees, orchards I think they're called. Then you got your pastures, your flour mills, all that stuff. They're all kind of like together in a pretty close area, which means they minimize driving within each other. But what you can also do is say like your industry or all your unique stuff is way down here, or maybe it's like way over here, somewhere on this tile. But maybe the only good farmland you have is in this corner. What you can do is just do this, take the zoning, kind of like do like one of these deals. Go like along the road and just like that. Build some roads. You kind of get, I think you guys get the idea. Like that, right? Make it long and skinny. And then put your farm fields, your processors on the resource. And then maybe, who knows how far, maybe equal distance between the 5 different pieces, if you want to try and do that, or whatever. You put like your storage unit, and then you go up a little bit, you put your processor, and you go up a little bit, and you put your warehouse, and you go up a little bit, and then there's your unique building. So you can like work your way towards like the other area, so to speak, that needs the stuff. The idea is you're trying to kind of concentrate or keep things close. The things that, yeah, the things that need the things. Yeah, right. But I think you kind of understand what I'm saying, hopefully. Other things to consider, like I said, have, access to like rail or other means besides just driving. That will help a lot. Just make sure your train lines aren't getting clogged up, because that'll once again slow you down. That might make the thing on the other end not have enough resource because they're waiting on a train that's clogged up. The train line is all backed up. Of course, this works really well with unlimited ore and oil, because that way you don't have to move things around. So I have a handful of pumps in here and I don't have to ever move because I have unlimited ore and oil, right? I got the ore in here, you don't have to move it. So if you're not playing that way, you're gonna have to, it's a little bit tougher because you got to move things around. Okay, we already talked about that. And then the specialized zoning. So this is a little tough. And you can run into a lot of problems, at least on console. Maybe on PC, you guys have mods that can help sort some of this out. But what my experience has been, and I even had it on this city here, when I first started the city, the industry area was in here, right? And I had ore in here, I had forestry up here. And I started building out the forestry DLC and the ore DLC, and I started getting all kinds of, not enough resources. And I'm like, what the heck? I haven't even started my DLC. I've run many of these at operating at 125 to 150%. Like, I kind of know what I'm doing with this, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I had the specialized zoning. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, that's this guys in here, right? These guys. And the problem can be, with the specialized zoning, is it can really mess up your industry if it's far away. Because what will happen, at least like I said on console, is you'll have the tree plantation thing, over here. He'll make raw resource, and then over here you'll have the sawmill, and he'll call for some resource, and it won't even come from the storage unit. It'll come from, maybe there's a storage unit building over here, and he'll go and start driving all the way around, all the way down here, all the way through Kingdom Come, so to speak, to deliver here. And then what he'll do is he'll make some plain timber, and he'll send a truck all the way down here to some factory in your, the furniture factory in your forestry specialized zone. And he's like waiting for the material, so he's all like, I don't have enough materials, when there's a sawmill right next to him, like literally right next door. So they'll cross paths is the short end of the story here. I think it will work if you zone, like I have some face here, if you actually zone some of the specialized forestry zone within this area, because then they're just going to go back and forth within here. I just don't think it works well at all. They don't play nice if they're far apart, because they start sending things, they start like supplying each other. And then the trucks cross. They meet in the middle, they sit back, have lunch, because John knows Jerry, because he drives by him every day. So they stop in the middle, have some lunch. Meanwhile, like, your factories are running out of material and they can't get stuff off the shelf because these guys are having lunch in the middle of the tile because they're going back and forth. So that's another thing to be careful with, like your location. It kind of all ties back to location, right? So kind of recap. This one's a quick one. I find it best if all the resources are on the same tile or two. and you can kind of all connect them together and link it all with your generic industry. Make sure you have good access to train to bring it out of the city through your external line, and then bring it into the industry, generic industry, so the trucks that need to be driving from your warehouses and from all the different places within your DLC get to go back to their home. They don't have to drive all over the world. And then what happens when they drive all over the world is they don't come back in time, and things pile up at the site, and then you start getting not enough buyer symbols. If you can't, because your resources are spread all over the map, or just because you just don't want your city to look like this, a big industrial area, which is totally fine too, then I would recommend trying to work your way towards wherever it's trying to go by building, like I said, that relay race style, to stretch it out, and then things will work pretty smooth as well. But I hope this was helpful. This one was about location. The last one was basically about all the assets and kind of how they work and what the supply chain really is. And then part 3, which will be after this one, is actually like how do you build the DLC, and this is going to get more into technique, so you don't basically set yourself up for failure right at the beginning, and then your industry, like I said, DLC just starts to crash and burn. Well, thanks for joining. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time, and as always, happy building.